Now then, you wrongin'. Back in the day, late night radio was raw, real, and authentic. Today, it's sanitized. It's vanilla. It's just deathly dull. All this wokery. I mean, it's enough to make a saint swear. But back in the day, there was no such thing as wokeness or being woke. Being awake, well, hopefully my radio shows would keep you awake, but they were event radio. They were water cooler radio, where people the following day would go, oh, did you hear that on the radio last night? Did you hear Adrian Allen's late night phone-in last night? Hopefully. And hopefully there are people that are looking at this video channel, the YouTube channel, going, oh, my word, that's what he looks like. Yeah. So, when radio wasn't woke, and it was a little bit more lively, and it had character and authenticity to it, I allowed people just to say whatever they want, so long as it wasn't illegal and it wasn't offensive, sort of. But if you want to know what people tried to get away with, because not all of these were broadcast, have a listen to these.
I come home last night from work, right? And I come in and I had to put the dog out. It was only fair because the kids set light to it. And I turned around to my missus and said, come on. I said, put your coat on, I'm going out. She said, well, where are we going? I said, nowhere, I'm turning the bloody heating off.
Roses are red, lemons are sour. Open your legs and give me an hour.
I've got a quick joke for you.
Go on.
Englishman, Irishman and a Scotsman go for a job with the Forestry Commission. And the foreman picks him up in a van, takes him into the middle of this forest. And he says, right, I've got a job for one of you. And he says to the Englishman, right, John, he said, you go over to that old oak tree, and if you can tell me which is the front and which is the back, I'll give you the job. So John walks over to the old oak tree, walks around it a few times, comes back scratching his head, and he says, oh, I'm awfully sorry, sir. He said, I haven't got a clue. Oh, he said, I could go and sit back in the van. He said, I can't give you the job. Jock, he said, it's your chance. Same for you, which is the front and which is the back of the old oak tree. So Jock walks over to the old oak tree, comes back after a few turns around it, and he says, oh, I've not got a clue, he says. Oh, I can't give you the job. Paddy says, you're my last hope. He said, if you can tell me which is the front and which is the back of that old oak tree over there, he said, I'll pick you up in the morning, you can start work with me. So Paddy walks around the tree once, and he comes back and he says, no, that part of the tree which is facing us there, sir, that is the front of the tree. And round the other side of the tree, which you can't quite see from this angle, sir, he says, that is the back of the tree. And the foreman said, Paddy said, absolutely brilliant. He said, give me your address, I'll pick you up in the morning, 6 o'clock sharp. But I've got to ask you, he said, how do you know? Oh, he said, it's quite simple, sir, he said, somebody shit round the back of it.
Can't broadcast it, but I think it might just make the Top Man tapes. Line 8, you're live on Real Radio.
I got a joke for you.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's a clean one, so I'm going to switch off. A guy walks into a pub with an octopus. Goes on to everyone in the bar and says, I bet anyone £50 if they can give me an instrument which my octopus can play. So this little old lady now says, I'll be back now. She said, I live next door. She came back with a guitar. So the octopus played the guitar to a dream. She said, I've never heard it being played like that before. Thank you very much, my love. He said, that's £50. So this guy now comes in. He says, I am long finished band practice. You can have a go at my tuba. So he's playing the tuba, and he says, go, you can join my band anytime you like. He said, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, sir. That's another £50. So the landlord has enough of this now, so he goes upstairs to the attic, comes back down with an instrument. He says, I'll bet you £100 if he can play that instrument. And he turns around and he says, no problem at all, he said. I got 50 and 50, that's 100. Yep, here's the £100, he said. So he's waiting now for the octopus to play it now, and he says, come on, man, there's £100 waiting on it. Played, he said, if I can undress you, he said, I'll make love to it.
What's the difference between Batman and an Irishman?
Don't know.
Batman can go to the shops without robbing.
Next.
Right. There's a man on the beach with no arms and legs. 3 nice women in bikinis come up to him. The first woman says, have you ever been kissed? He says, no. So she gives him a kiss. The second woman says, have you ever had a bit of oral? He said, no. So she does. The third woman came up to him and said, have you ever been shagged? He said, no. She goes, good, well, the tide's coming in.
woman now decides to have a fancy dress party for her husband's birthday.
Yeah.
And the theme is to come as a human emotion. So the night of the party, the first guest comes covered in green paint, and he's got N and V printed on his chest. So she says to him, "What have you come as?" He said, "Oh, I'm green with envy." A couple of minutes later, this woman comes in a pink bodysuit with a feather bow around her neck. And she says, "Oh, what have you come as?" "Oh, I'm tickled pink." So next knock at the door now, there was two fellas, totally naked. One with his dangly bits in a bowl of custard, and the other with his dangly bits in a hole in a pear, a fruit pear. So she said, quite shocked now, she says, what the hell are you two doing?" And the first guy says, "I'm fucking disgusted.